Welcome to Study Loop.
Let's take a look at the lac operon. The lac operon is what governs whether a bacterium will consume lactose or not. Why does the bacterium need to choose whether it will consume lactose or not? Why can't it just consume it all the time? Well, because glucose is a much simpler sugar than lactose, and it takes less effort to break down. So when glucose is present, it would rather not make the enzymes responsible for breaking down lactose because that is energy spent. However, when you don't have glucose but you have lactose, then you do want to make the enzymes that break down lactose because lactose is better than nothing. So that's kind of what we're talking about here, okay? So you need those two factors to basically turn on the lac operon. You need the absence of glucose and the presence of lactose. The cell needs to be able to tell that both of those conditions are met. And this is how that happens. So up here, we are just showing the general structure of the lac operon with its promoter region, repressor region, and the actual genes. And the first scenario is the scenario that we talked about, where we have low glucose and high lactose available. And in this instance, you have the CAP protein, which acts as the promoter. So the CAP protein is the promoter for the lac operon. So when you have low glucose, the CAP protein binds. And when you have lactose available, the repressor, which is this brown guy down here, it's not on because lactose is available. So the genes will be expressed. In a scenario where we have high glucose and low lactose, so we're talking about scenario 2 here, the promoter is not on, so you don't have the CAP there, and the repressor is on. So that is not being expressed. When lactose is unavailable but low glucose, and also glucose is unavailable, that means that you are going to have the promoter because the promoter comes on when glucose is low, but lactose is also not there. So there's no point in transcribing, so the repressor is on. And when you have high glucose and high lactose, uh, this is basically low expression because you don't have a repressor there stopping things, but you don't have the promoter there helping things along. Excuse me. So how does glucose and lactose actually govern whether the promoter and the receptor are on or off? Real quickly, glucose stops the production of cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP, AMP stands for adenosine monophosphate, if you were curious. AMP promotes the binding of the CAP protein, and CAP, I think, stands for catabolite activator protein. So it activates the catabolism of lactose. And the CAP promotes transcription. I'm going to abbreviate that. So when you have glucose present, glucose is putting a stop to the entire chain, and the promoter cannot bind to the promoter region when glucose is present. You take glucose away, you take this block away, you can now start making cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP starts binding to CAP, CAP starts binding to the promoter, and it promotes transcription. Part 2. Part 2 is that the lactose binds to the repressor, and when it binds to the repressor, so actually let me draw that better because I'm using the arrows to say promotes here. So let me say L for lactose binds to repressor. And when the lactose binds to the repressor, this stops the repressor from interacting with the DNA. Okay, so when lactose is present, the repressor is off because the repressor cannot bind to DNA when lactose is present. So that's how that works. So what are our answer choices? When lactose, choice A, when lactose and glucose are present, Transcription of the lac operon is induced. No, when you have glucose, you don't need to turn it on. When lactose is present but glucose is absent, the lac operon is expressed. No, that's when it is expressed. I'm sorry. So the answer choice was is repressed. That is not correct. That's when it is expressed. Choice C, lactose acts as an inducer of the lac operon when glucose is absent. That is correct. That is what we described. Choice D, lactose acts as an inducer of the lac operon when glucose is present. That's the same thing as B, so that's incorrect. So choice C is correct.